Hi there folks. In this video we're going to have a look at some 8x50R Lebel ammunition produced by PPU. And if you've got a Lebel or a Berthier rifle or carbine, you'll know that original ammunition is getting hard to find and some of it's getting to be unreliable due to age. So it's nice to have a supply of modern production non-corrosive ammunition with reloadable brass cases. So, standard looking Prvi, PPU, whatever you want to call it, box. 12.96 gram or 200 grain bullet. Just the usual commercial style of box. The ammo is made in Serbia. So let's have a look at some of the rounds. They come, of course, 20 to a box. Nothing fancy about the interior construction either, just a cardboard divider. And here is an individual round. So you can see we have the typical Lebel double taper case with a large rim. And this is the newer style of production, and it actually has the ring cut around the primer to catch the nose of another round if it's in a Lebel rifle magazine. We've got that rim cut in there which will catch the tip of the bullet so that it doesn't stack up like that and cause a detonation in the magazine. The older production PPU Lebel ammo did not have that groove, so if you have some of that older stuff, you probably should single load it only if you're using it in a Lebel. Be quite okay in a Berthier. Anyway, this ammunition roughly duplicates the French ball D load, which was a 198 grain bullet. However, the French original load was a turned brass or bronze solid bullet. The PPU ammunition is a conventional cup and core type, has a separate jacket and a lead core for probably reasons of economy and or the factory not having the ability to probably make a bullet of exactly the same style as the original loading. It really wouldn't matter to most people anyway, as long as the ammunition is suitable for use in their rifle. And speaking as to suitability, because this is analogous to the ball D load, it is usable in all of the 8mm Lebel firearms without issue, unlike some of the surplus stuff, the ball N, which is loaded to a different standard and is considered to be unsafe for use in firearms that are not marked for the ball N. Anyway, so it's good looking stuff, as Prvi brass and bullets usually are. So in this video we're going to pull some of it apart and have a look at what's inside, and then later on, I'm not sure, maybe in a separate video we'll go to the range and test fire some of this. So I'm going to pull apart a few rounds and I'll get right back to you. Alright, I'm back from my work with the impact bullet puller, and we've got 10 rounds of this stuff pulled apart. And let's start off with a close-up look at the bullet itself. As I mentioned earlier, this is a conventional lead core bullet with a gilding metal jacket. You can see that the core is recessed fairly significantly. And like I said, this is different than the original French bullet, which was turned out of one piece of material. Anyway, conventional boat tail bullet, very slippery looking thing. I'm not sure what the ballistic coefficient would be on this, but I'm sure it would be pretty good considering the heavy weight of the bullet, and it has a pretty steep boat tail, and being a Spitzer pointed bullet, it has a sleek profile, so most likely a fairly good ballistic coefficient, although it's not really going to matter to most people who are probably not going to be shooting this stuff at extended distances anyway. You can see that the bullet has a cannelure or crimping groove. So let's have a look at the diameter of the bullet. We'll break out the calipers here and see what kind of diameter this projectile has. So we'll give it a measure here on the major diameter, and let's see, now we'll get it right about there. So surprisingly fairly large. We're getting 326 on that, which is it's a little bigger than I expected. Make sure my calipers are zeroed. Yes, they are. So 326. So that's a little bit bigger than I was expecting. I thought it might be a standard .323 size bullet. let's measure another one here and see. By the way, if you're into loading, or you're going to reload this cartridge, standard loading blocks are a bit of a pain to get to fit because of the large rim. So if you order a Frankfurt Arsenal number 9 reloading tray, the Lebel brass fits nicely in that. So just a bit of a tip in case you want to get into reloading this stuff yourself. Anyway, let's measure another one here for diameter. And we're getting pretty close to 327 on that one. So these are a little fatter than the average. This one's 326. We'll roll through a few of these here just to see. So yeah, about 326, 327 thereabouts. They seem to be more along the lines of 326, which is a bit surprising. I thought they would use a standard 323 bullet, but they've gone a little bigger, and generally a little bigger means more accurate in most older rifles, and the firearms you're going to be firing this stuff out of are generally going to be pretty old. Anyway, we'll give you one more measurement while we got the calibers out here. We'll measure the overall length of the bullet just for anybody who is curious. We are looking at 1.323. It looks like 1.323 for overall length of the projectile itself. I'll go weigh these and we'll give you some numbers. Well, I'm finished weighing all the bullets, and here's the numbers. So we weighed 10 bullets. We have a high weight of 200.6 grains, and the lowest weight was 198.8. And that gave us an average of 200 grains, well, 200.02, but the 0.2 is not significant since our scale doesn't measure that accurately. So 200 grains basically, which is exactly as advertised. Our extreme spread 1.8 grains. That's a little bit larger than I would have expected, but considering the rifles this stuff's going to be shot in, it's probably not a big deal to most people. It is not advertised as being match grade ammo. It's basically ball equivalent. And we've got a standard deviation. We'll round it up to 0.6 of a grain. So most of the bullets were, pretty close together. We had that one that was a little bit light, but the rest of them were reasonably close together. Certainly good enough for the intended purpose. Alright, let's move on to the powder charge. And these are loaded with a charge of extruded stick-tight powder. Make sure we got it all out of there. I did weigh these powder charges, and there was no particular surprise there. 45.2 grains was the average charge for these. There was no particularly significant deviation from that, so we're not even going to get into the numbers for that. As you can see, just a stick type, extruded, probably IMR type of powder. And you can see it fills the cases up. If we can look down inside there, you might not be able to see that well, but basically the powder comes up to the junction of the neck, so the loading density is pretty good. Anyway, I guess moving on from the powder charge, we'll have another look at the cartridge case. Perhaps I'll go get some light we can see down inside the cartridge case. Well, we've got a flashlight here so we can have a peek down inside the cartridge case. Hopefully that shows up on camera. You can see it's nice and shiny inside there. Fairly square contour to the inside of the cartridge case. And as I mentioned earlier, this has the ring around the primer. You can see it right there. I've popped the primer out of this one so you can have a look at it. Primer pocket appears to be reasonably well centered in the cartridge case, which is generally fairly important for accuracy. And see if we can get a good look at the head stamp there. All the glare off it. Well, anyway, hopefully you can read that. PPU 8x50R Lebel is what it says. And here's the primer that came out of it. Just a brass cup primer with three-legged anvil and some, looks like some red foil over the priming compound. So this is really, with this ammo, this is really what I'm after, because I want reloadable cartridge cases, and nice fresh factory stuff is really what you want. You can really see the taper here. The two sort of bevels to this that lead to the neck, which is a function of this having been adapted from the 11mm Gras cartridge. So leads you with this rather unusually shaped cartridge case. And you see there's some annealing here around the neck in typical PPU fashion. Anyway, hopefully this proves to be good serviceable brass and has some good life to it, because the ammunition is not it's not exactly cheap around here, and it's not always in steady supply. So if you want some of this stuff, you may want to lay in a supply of it whenever it's available to you. Well, just about ready to tie this video up. Just a couple more things I will mention before we go. I just thought I'd mention that on the PPU website, they list the ballistics of this out of a 610mm barrel as being 700 meters a second, which works out to 2,297 feet per second. So we'll keep that in mind when we head out to the range, and we'll just see how it does out of our test rifle. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you in the next video.